for the, I don't know how many times, 10, 20, 30 times, 30th time, I'm going to try this again. And it's not because I can't come up with the words, it's because I can't finish what it is that I'm trying to say, I guess. My tribute to Ron Smokey Grimm. I say Smokey because at the time when I met Ron, I was told that his friends called him Smokey, and I've known him as Smokey for a better part of 20 years. I met Ron. I'm going to refer to him as Smokey. I met Smokey in Alpena, Michigan, almost 20 years ago. I was working at it was called Curvan's. Curvan's was the local video, pizza, convenience store, all tied up in one-stop shop. And this was back when VHS tapes were still popular. Pardon my age. Right out of high school, I started working there, and that was the hot spot to work at. You rented your Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, your VHS cassette tapes. Curvan's didn't sell beer, but it was a convenience store. It had all the pop for us northern people, all the pop you could think of, candy bars, chips, whatever. But it was the cool spot. If you got a job at Curvan's, that was pretty badass, to put it bluntly. Unfortunately for me, I caught it at the tail end of the badassness. So we're talking like 98, 99. I'm right out of high school, just jumping into college. And we had two counters. We had the front counter, which was like the main counter. The cigarettes, your instant lotto tickets, blah, 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 blah. The secondary counter was your video rental, pizza, pickup, whatever. It wasn't a delivery place. You picked up the pizzas there. Ordered whatever, pick it up on your convenience. So I shift over to the front counter, and we had two sets of doors, and I see coming from the side window this figure in a leather jacket and a Scully bandana. Like, alright, whatever. Comes looping around, comes through the front set of doors, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Hits the second set of doors, leather jacket, black Scully bandana, black blue jeans, black jeans, I guess, biker boots, certain strut coming through. I need a pack of this, and as soon as he hits my counter, he points at me, I need a pack of this, and he walks down the side of the store and goes to one of the cooler doors, and he grabs a 2-liter or whatever. For some reason I want to say it was a 2-liter of Dr. Pepper and Pall Mall cigarettes, because that's what he used to like to order or request when he came in. Served him that one occasion. He walked out, walked back around, and I remember looking at my night manager at the time, and I was like, wow, that's quite the character. And she's like, oh, that's Smokey. And I laughed. I'm thinking, any of you that have ever seen the movie Friday, I'm thinking Smokey, Chris Tucker's character. I'm like, that's not Smokey. You know, if that's Smokey, then Smokey from the movie is not Smokey, or that's Smokey and that's whatever. So the next time I wait on Ron, Smokey, he comes in, and I've got this t-shirt on it that says Employee of the Month on the front. And he walks through, and it's almost same stride, same strut, and he's like, oh, congratulations. You haven't been here long. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, your shirt. And I look down and it says Employee of the Month. Well, needless to say, he doesn't know. It says Employee of the Month, but on the back it has a picture of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And he's doing the people's eyebrow, and it says SmackDown Hotel. It was kind of a gag thing for me. I saw it online. I ordered it right away from WWF.com. And huge Rock fan for those of you that know me. So he congratulates me on getting Employee of the Month, and I kind of go in stride with it for a moment. He gets his whatever from the coolers, comes back, gets his cigarettes, and I was like, well, coincidentally, it's not a Employee of the Month T-shirt because I'm Employee of the Month here. It's because it's Employee of the Month because it's a Rock T-shirt. And I turn around and I do the little pose, and I'm thumbing it up, and it's got The Rock doing the people's eyebrow, and he's like, oh, at least you're not the fan of that poser Goldberg. I'm like, Goldberg? I'm like, Goldberg's the man, but The Rock's The Rock. And he's like, oh, I'm a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. So like instantaneously, like in the second conversation that I ever had, first one really doesn't count because he requested whatever cigarette-wise and dropped his 2-liter of pop in front of me. So the second conversation we have, technically, is about wrestling. And me being a wrestling guy, it was like, boom, instantaneous click. You're a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. I'm a Rock fan. You like wrestling. I like wrestling. And you're for that guy and I'm for that guy. Like, polar opposites with who we like, but yet we've got a common ground. So we small talk for a little bit. Yeah, Goldberg's not that great, but I thought Goldberg was pretty cool at that time. Getting to the point, we had a common ground off of one small, simple conversation with wrestling. So every time he kept coming in, it was, did you see Monday Night Raw? Did you see SmackDown? Did you see Nitro? Did you see Thunder? Did you see this? And we would talk, and I'd get in trouble. You know, we're not here to converse. We're here to work, blah, 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 blah. It's a convenience store, and this guy's coming in spending money, and I'm humoring him, but yet entertaining him, but yet I'm intrigued with the conversation we're having. So getting to the point, eventually, through those wrestling talks, he invites me over to his home to watch a WWF, WWE Now pay-per-view at his home. So I come over and we watch the pay-per-view, and he's like, have you ever seen American Werewolf in London? And I was like, no, never seen it. And he's like, you gotta see it. And he's stumbling through whatever with his VHS library, pulls out the cassette, like, pushes into my chest, says, go home and watch it. I'll get it back from you whenever I get it back from you. And I was like, so you're a horror flick fan? And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Bing, anyone that knows me, horror flick fan. Wrestling, check. Horror films, check. So we hit it off right from Jump Street, and you got to chisel away all the outside features of people, and just understand that wherever you're at, with whoever you're at, character-wise, there's something that gravitates you towards them, and you work off of that. And we didn't realize we were doing it at the time. Again, this is little Alpena, Michigan. Little, very little Alpena, Michigan. So he tells me his background, I share with him my background, and every wrestling pay-per-view, I'm at his place. It's back when wrestling pay-per-views were an extra $30 on your cable bill. Excuse me. And on their every wrestling pay-per-view, a couple of Monday Night Raws, wrestling show this, wrestling show that, and then eventually me and his kids hit it off. Rachel, Josh, Jimmy. I'm bringing over wrestling video games. We're playing video games for a little while, and Josh is into it, and Josh, I think at certain points in times, you let me win. I think you let me win, because I was kicking your butt all over. Jimmy, I know how mad I made you, because you would curse under your breath, and get so mad and irate and all. If you could Hulk break that controller, that PlayStation controller, in your hand and hand it to me and say, two-boy double tall salute to me, and get away with it, you would have. I kicked your ass for the better part of a year playing SmackDown on PlayStation till you started figuring out my mannerisms and what I did and did frequently. Then all of a sudden you flipped it around and you started kicking my ass. And then of course it's not fun to play anymore. I don't want to play anymore because you're kicking my butt and everyone's laughing and I'm not. So I hate to lose and hate to lose, yeah, that's that. Your dad got a kick out of it. He hated video games with a passion. He loved watching because he saw me interacting with you guys. And again, another common bond. If you look at this picture that I'm going to pop up here for a second, and it's going to go quiet for a second because of editing reasons, but you look at two guys that are polar opposites of each other in appearance. But yet, those two guys in that picture had more in common than twins being born back to back 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 minutes of each other. And we had that for the better part of 2.5, 3 years till I left Michigan. Smokey was a big instrumental component of me leaving Michigan to move to Florida. And I don't think he realized that and knew that because I never told him that. Alpena, I grew up in Alpena and had my ups and downs, and we have our ups and downs with life in general, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent about that, but Ron Smokey, I remember telling him, you know, hey, I caught up with a buddy of mine that I've known since I was 8 years old, 9 years old. He moved to Florida. He's going to put me up until I get on my feet. You know, what do you think? And as soon as I said, what do you think? He's just like, go. I've been there. I know what it's like. You got to move. You got to get out of here. Alpena's great, but it's this, and this that it's not for you. Bust out of your shell and go find you. Go discover you. And that was just like that simple piece of advice. It wasn't like he was selling me on it. That's not how I felt. But it was just a nudge that I needed of confirmation, like, hey, I'm not going to go screw this up. Like, go figure out me. And I did that. I put in my 2 weeks notice where I was working, and I didn't fulfill my 2 weeks. And I remember one of the last couple times that I hung out with Smokey before I left, jumped in my car, we were driving around doing whatever. I don't know where we went or why we even left the home. We usually hung out and drank Zima. We had Zima. Zima was the girly malt beer. And I'm telling you right now, as my witness, we made Zima like masculine. Before Metro was a word, masculine was the word, okay? So, Zima. It was Zima this, Zima that. 6-pack of Zima. Curvans didn't sell alcohol, beer or wine, anything. We had to go wherever we had to go to get Zima. And, you know, the whole drop the Jolly Rancher in it, and it tastes like you put a Jolly Rancher in the bottom of a Zima bottle, it doesn't dissolve and make the Zima taste like sour apple or watermelon. That's a myth. That doesn't work. We tried it. It doesn't work. Zima had more alcohol content in it than a Budweiser at the time. Budweiser, Bud Light wasn't really relevant as much. Miller, couldn't tell you any of the other beers because we drank Zima. But Zima was cool. It was clear. A little high in the sugar content, but you didn't quite wake up with the hangover the next day. Sorry, we had our fair share of Zima, and we made it masculine. It was the man's beer. But I'll never forget, we jumped in my car, we took off, went whatever to do whatever, I don't remember. And I'm talking to him, and he's to my right, driving, and I'm all animated with my hands and this and that, and all of a sudden the car behind me gets up alongside of us, he swerves at me and almost hits me, and he gives me two double tall boys, boom, and I looked at Smokey and I was like, did you just see what the hell just happened here? And he's like, yeah, let's go kick his ass. Cool, game on, got my back, got your back, let's go. Followed this guy around for about 2 or 3 minutes, eventually he pulls over. So the moment I put my car in park, it's not even clicking, and we're both pushing doors open. Boom, barreling out of the car. Guy gets out of his car, and I'm 5'10", Smokey's 5'7", 5'6", 5'8", maybe. This guy's 6'3", 6'4", solid, but he's 140 pounds, soaking wet. So I look up and I'm like, big guy, cool. 2 of us, 1 of him, whatever. And the guy's like, pizza dude, you're pizza guy, Curvans, right? And I was like, yeah. And I remember like grabbing Smokey, it's like, whoa, hold on. Where's this going? He's like, why'd you flip me off? I didn't flip you off. When did you think I flipped you off? And he's like, back there like 3, 4, 5 miles ago, you flipped me off. And I was like, no, I'm talking to my best friend. I'm all animated. I'm like, you didn't see me flip you off because I wouldn't have flipped you off. Why would I flip you off driving behind me? And he's like, oh, that's true. Well, I'm sorry. So he shakes hands with me, and he goes to shake hands with Smokey. And he's like, F you. The only reason why you're doing that is 1, because you know him, being me, from Curvans, and 2, there's 2 of us and 1 of you. We would have put the boots to you and whipped your ass in the middle of Chisholm Street, right here, right now in Alpena. And the guy's like all but tearing up. He's mad. He's mad, sad, and happy, all in like one notion. Like, you're right, but you're wrong. But I'm gonna go with it because there's 2 of you and 1 of us. Guy gets back in his car, takes off. Eventually I leave Alpena and then move to Florida and do my thing for a little while. Me and Ron, Smokey, we keep in touch through email, because at that era, email was the big thing. Emailing back and forth, and eventually he calls me up one day and says, hey, I'm at a crossroad and I need to change of place. And I was like, well, cool, because I'm at a crossroad. I'm sleeping on my mom's couch at this point because of personal reasons. We'll get into that. Why don't you come on down to Florida and we'll figure something out together and we'll get our own place. So I bring him down to Florida. We get an apartment together eventually. And he's my roommate. And you can't go wrong with that. Your best friend's your roommate. You don't live with the people you know, you don't live with people you love, and blah, 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 blah. Better part of 4 or 5 months, I had my brother living with me, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm getting them acclimated with Florida the best that I can. and we go to a local nightclub bar, and it's a dance themed thing. It's what any club is. So whatever, I couldn't tell you what song comes out, and we had a few drinks. We're feeling good. We're feeling loose. We're vibrant with the atmosphere, and I'm jigging and doing my thing. And he's out on the dance floor, and he looks like he's putting out cigarette butts with his feet. He's doing this, and his foot's going this way. He's doing this, and his left foot's doing this thing. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Putting out cigarette butts? And he's like, I don't know how to dance. So I was like, whatever you're doing right now is working. And I'm doubled over laughing. My friends are laughing, not at him, but just with him, like. And he's laughing, and we're all but like crying at this point because it's so humorous. Like, he had so much energy to what he was doing and just didn't care. And that's how it's supposed to be. You just don't care. You just keep doing what feels good and feels right, and you laugh and you go with it. He didn't care. One of the last couple weeks that he was my roommate before he ventured on, another good funny story is, I think I was working, I don't know what I was doing, and I came home to the apartment, and he's got a red stripe that runs from his left eye, and it widens out like a triangle to his right cheek and neck. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, are you mad? Is your blood sugar off? What's wrong with you? And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, you're red. Why are you red? You're pink. You're red. No, you're pink. You're red. I can't navigate it. Like, as soon as I see him when I walk through the apartment door, he's pink, but he's red, but he's red, but he's pink, and I can't figure it out. It just jostles me, because I just had one hellacious day at work, and he's like, all right, well, I got a confession. Okay, what? You get in a fight with a tomato? What's wrong with you? He's like, I was laying on the couch by our patio door, and I fell asleep. And it hit me right away, and I lost it. I started laughing. Love you, man. He fell asleep at the patio window with his hand like this. Hence this. It was a sunburn for like 2-3 hours. I don't know how long. He fell asleep, crashed on the couch and watching whatever on TV. Went like this and just sunburnt down. And that's what he had. It was like a Predator. You know, he painted his face this way, but it was sunburnt that way. He didn't mean to do it, but it was pretty damn funny. We had a lot of great times together. I got him down here to Florida. Eventually, he pursued other things, went to New York, and then skipped over to Sweden for a while. You left the country. You left the country and went to Sweden and came back and continued living life. Last year at this time, he was supposed to come down and I want to say visit his dad. He was visiting, and then come stay with me for a little while and figure out whether moving back to Florida would be a good thing for him. We talked about it, and he said moving to Florida was a good thing, and he wanted to pursue that. So he was leaving the next day after this conversation we had on the phone. I'll call you in a couple days. Yeah, you get a whole new camera angle and a whole new shot. The battery on the other camera just mysteriously just boom, cut off and died just like that. It's almost like a sign, like you don't want to hear what I'm about to say, but I've got my tablet now and it's on backup and it's recording, so I don't remember where I left off. And if it's a little choppy from point A to point B being now, I apologize, but this is my tribute to you because I can't be there at your funeral on Monday as much as I need to be and should be, but due to obligations that are out of my control, I can't be there. Rachel, Josh, and Jimmy, just because your father's gone, his spirit still lives through you. And what I haven't touched upon is the fact of how much he loved you guys and talked about you guys. And it could be through wrestling, it could be through whatever we were doing. Something that we were doing was constantly reminding him of you. And we saw your dad break down and deteriorate through the years. And after he moved to Florida, I think that was the breaking point for him. And it's nothing you guys did. You grew up and became adults and moved on and moved out and did your thing and discovered who you were. And I think he was still grasping on to the fact that he had his children, but his children grew up and moved on. By the time he got to me in Florida, that wasn't the same guy I knew in Michigan. And that's not a cut or criticism or anything. I'm just saying there was a change. And it took me till now to realize what that change was. And it's because you finally grew up and moved on and became adults. And as a parent, me being a parent myself, you don't want that as much as you want to see your children grow up and move on and become who they are and who they can be and better than who you are as a person, as a professional, as whatever it is you do in life. You want them to achieve that and surpass it and be the best at everything they do in life. I know it's difficult right now because it's hard for me just as a best friend or brother. But I need you to do me a favor. I need you three to know that things are going to be alright. They're going to be alright. As hard as it may seem. And stay strong. He loved you. He spoke about you all the time. And as a parent, I know what it's like to do those stresses with you and criticize and critique and all the stuff that you hated, absolutely hated, came out of your skin. I saw it, 3-4 years before I left. Just know going forward, no matter how difficult life is, you don't know who to be, you don't know how to answer, you don't know how to do whatever it is that is laid upon you in front of you. You do one of two things. You do what your dad did, knowing the outcome, or you do what your dad didn't do, knowing the outcome. That's my advice to you. Of course, you're always going to remember. Of course, you're never going to forget. Your dad had so much love. And took me in. That was bro man. I'm bro man. And damn it, I got all the way to the end and finally broke. You will always be more than a friend to me. Lost my brother. You lost your dad. Bro, man. It's going over and over in my head. Hands down, one of the most true, raw, up front in your face, got your back, die-hard people I have ever met, ever. And you can only count on one hand how many people will ever be that way. And he is on that very short list. Rachel, Josh, and Jimmy. I don't know what I have to offer for you, but your dad was a brother to me. Need anything, you know my number. For those of you that knew him as Coyote Lee, that tried to tackle the almighty MySpace back in its day. And he did that, and he created his own website to take on MySpace. He did his political thing. I rode with it. You know what? I rode with everything that he had. And it wasn't just because he was my friend and my brother. It was because he had a vision to tear apart all the drama and headache before what we have now with social media. That guy pioneered that stuff before it was recognized. Columbus gets recognized for discovering America when the Vikings were here well before Columbus. Ron Smokey Grimm was here well before all of that. The toughest part for me is not knowing what your children are going through right now, because I've yet to bury one of my parents. How do I delete your number from my phone?
because you're not here to take that call, that text. You're not going to call me tomorrow. You're not going to text me tomorrow or next week. It's like deleting you from my life. And I don't want to do that because I don't know how to do that. So much in debt to you for everything you did. When you have no idea, because we don't say that, because we're bros, we're best of friends, we're everything under the sun. But at some point, you gotta let go. You're not there, but you're here. Thank you for everything. Rachel, Josh, Jimmy, your dad, my brother. Was a very good man and did more than you'll ever know, and maybe you do know. I don't know, but he was full of love and laughter, great times. And he'll forever be missed. I could go on for the next 2 or 3 or 4 hours. But that's probably him right now telling me to wrap it up. I wouldn't doubt it. Ron, Smokey, Rem, Coyote Lee, whatever nickname you knew him under. Thank you for everything you were to me and all the hearts and people you touched. And I'm honored to have had you graced my life, because again, you only count on one hand how many people were that important. Love you, brother. Rest in paradise. I'll see you soon.